I'm gonna hit record. I'm gonna ask Jason if he prefers to take questions out of the chat or to unmute. I think our group is gonna stay a little bit quiet, not quieter, smaller tonight. So maybe we can just raise our hands, but we'll see. Jason will let us know when he does his intro. You guys, go check your news tab. Something really cool dropped today with the new fragrance collection that comes out on Monday. I myself am so excited to smell this. I think it's something that I am going to want to put in my club, all of the smelly goody things. I just love that there's such things as like vitamin smells, but I'm not going to give away everything. Yes, please. Thank you very much for introducing yourselves in the chat. And I apologize for not mentioning that we have Director Carrie Smith with us here, Director Joy Horn with us, and Superstar Director Amy Morrison with us as well. So we are a team of leaders here, and I apologize. I got nervous and I just started talking. I'm like, oh, I'm just going to talk, and that's what happened. So folks are trickling in, and Jason, the man, the myth, the legend, the guru of the Tuesday at 2, your friend Jason Harwood, Director of Consultant Development. If you will please give us your spiel. We'd love to hear from you. We're super excited to talk to you.
Thanks, Sharon. That is so good to be here. One thing, if it's possible, I don't have to, but if I can share my screen. Like you can do the thing to make me maybe a panelist or something.
Sure, I can do that.
And then I can share my screen. So good to be with everybody. And hope you're having a great day. First off, we just want to say how grateful we are at home office. You know, we are just so lucky. The opportunity to work at Scentsy, the opportunity to work with you guys, and it's not lost on us. The hard work that you guys put in, the effort that you go through, the way that you work, and
here, hold on.
And all that you do. That's okay. I think you had that mute.
You're good now. Sorry about that.
That's okay. And all that you do. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you. We hope that you're getting prepped for World Tour. Because that's going to be spectacular, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Nobody is, I think Chuck might be the one more disappointed than I am that it's being moved from live and in person to live and virtual, but we were going through it today. It's still going to be spectacular and a ton of great information and a lot of fun. So hopefully you're able to attend World Tour. Okay. And yeah, if you have a question, you're welcome to put it into the chat. I do a decent job of monitoring the chat, but if you want to unmute yourself and just talk that way too, that's totally fine. Either way is fine. But Sharon asked if I could talk a little bit about a training that we have that's available for you on the workstation. And this is called the 5 fundamentals, is what we call it, the 5 fundamentals of team building. I searched for 5 fundamentals in the workstation and got this, although like you search for 5 fundamentals and it doesn't come up, it just says team building. So anyway, this is what you're looking for. These are 3 gals that actually work at Scentsy. That's kind of fun. But this is our core basic leadership development training. When we develop boot camp content, we base it off of these 5 fundamentals. When over the past couple of years, as we've gone from live in-person boot camp training to some virtual director events, if you've been to any of those, it's based off of the 5 fundamentals. And often as we build out leadership content, we are looking at the 5 fundamentals as the 5 core behaviors necessary to be consistent in your leadership business. And so I would say that as we talk about these 5 fundamentals and you're thinking, okay, how do I incorporate these into my life? How do I incorporate these into my business? And what is most important in doing that? I will just tell you guys, I first started at Scentsy in 2008, and back then there weren't a whole lot of consultants. We were very small. I think consultant numbers were like 15,000, 16,000. I was I remember very well when we hit consultant 100,000. I was lucky enough to attend as a guest reunion in 2008 and then as an employee in 2009. And so I've been around for a long time and have been so fortunate to meet so many incredible leaders. What I love about all of the incredible leaders I've met is like, I don't think you could try, you go ahead and try, but you could put anything into the chat, whether it's geography or educational background, gender, age, family history, just about anything. And I guarantee you I've met a leader who fits that profile, whether they have kids, don't have kids, married, not married, whatever. If you want to talk, and then if you want to talk about ways that they run their business, I have met and been inspired by leaders who do nothing but home parties and barely have any technological skills. In fact, I was texting today with the superstar director who will be joining the leadership call on Monday. And if you have a moment on Monday morning, 10 a.m. To join the leadership call, none other than Colette Ganell will be on the call, and she's amazing. But she talked about and said, I'm just not very technologically savvy. So, but she does a ton of fairs and shows, home parties, basket parties, online parties, Sensi Club, just like any type of business process you can imagine. I have met, and I could tell you about a successful leader who runs their business just about every way possible. So from every background and walk of life, from every approach to business, just about everything you can possibly imagine. People who are outgoing, people who are, if you go through what is it that where you end up like introvert, extrovert, what's that thing called? Myers-Briggs? Is that what it's called? Myers-Briggs, like INTJ or something like that. Like every possible one of those, every single one of the Enneagrams. It's fascinating. We had a group of leaders take the Enneagram test one time, and I guarantee like every single Enneagram number is represented. That's a long windup to tell you that I've only found one thing that is similar across all of the successful leaders that I've found. I can give you every diversity possible, but I found one area of almost universal similarity among every single successful Sensi leader, and that is consistency. It's the consistency with which they do whatever it is they do, whether it's the consistency of home parties, basket parties, online, fairs and shows, Sensi Club, person to person, whatever it is, fundraisers, right? There's no one way to say this is the way you have to run your Sensi business. The thing that matters is, are you consistent in the way you're choosing to do it? So as I talk about the 5 fundamentals with you tonight, I want to reiterate that this is a general approach to looking at your leadership and becoming a better leader. The key is to identify probably one thing to do, and maybe one in a couple of these 5 fundamentals, and then say, I am going to stick with that with consistency. Because the reality is, you may not be as, I don't know, have as many Instagram followers as some other leader. You may not have as many home parties booked as some other leader. You may not have the huge fairs and shows that some other person does. Some other Sensi consultant may already have the fundraiser for the big organization in your town, right? I mean, you can go through and identify all of the, all of the things and say, I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have this. I didn't get in as early as that person. I don't have as much following as that. My family's not as big as this. But what you can always control is consistency. You can always control whether or not you approach your business every single day. And how you approach your business every single day. So, right, and I'll tell you, I mentioned I've been at Sensi since 2008. I don't know, right? there are many employees at Sensi that I look at and say, I'm not as good at this as them. I'm not as good at that. I'm not, right. I wasn't as gifted as this, right? Whatever. You can always compare yourself. But just for me personally, I just, since 2008, I've just said, hey, this is what I'm good at. This is what I'm going to try to bring to work every single day. And I've been blessed to have an opportunity to do what I'm good at, or perceive I'm good at Sensi. And it's the same thing for you. You can always come up with a negative comparison to somebody else, but the other side of that coin is you can always say, but you know what I can do? I can show up in my business every single day and I can be consistent. So as I share these things with you, that's where I'd encourage you to be mentally, is not to say, well, I may not be as good as this. I may not be as smart as that. I may not have the following of this. I may not have the system of that, but you can look and you can say, I can do this one thing every single day. And so the first of the 5 fundamentals is prepare. Prepare is simply taking the time to create a little bit of intention around what you're going to do with your Sensi business, so that it doesn't get to, right now it's 6:13 Mountain, 8:13 Eastern time, and you're thinking, oh boy, I haven't done anything with my Sensi business today. Jason said I have to be consistent, so I got to do something. Let's see, Joy, you're in Alaska, so it's probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or it's like last Wednesday or something. Oh, you're only 2 hours behind me? Oh, okay. All right. Who knows? My son is in Hawaii. He's 3 hours off, but they don't do the switch to daylight saving. So sometimes he's 4 hours behind me, sometimes he's 3. But prepare is deciding ahead of time some of the core things that you're going to do. Now, one of the things that it recommends in our guide, and this again, you can find this right on the workstation if you want to go get this guide and pull it up and go through it yourself, is to potentially identify different activities that you want to focus on different days of the week. So for example, Monday would be a day that you focus in on following up with hosts or getting new hosts. Tuesday would be following up with customers. Wednesday would maybe be a day for your team. Thursday, you'd focus on recruiting, right? And Friday, team leaders. Or there's a couple of different options here, but the key is, and you might look at that and say, no, that doesn't fit for me. That's not what I want to do. And that's fine. This is, again, just an example. The key would be to move from a place where business is a bit more haphazard to a place where most days you wake up and know, okay, here's the thing I'm going to do today. Or at least you wake up and say, I know no matter what else happens, I'm going to get this one thing done today, because this one thing is most important, or this is the one thing I do every single day, right? So it's starting to move with intention and to create systems, to put systems in place to where you can be consistent, because oftentimes we run off of I got to go this way. I was reminded that for our dear friends in Region 2 in Europe, that's a negative, and so yeah, do it this way. That there's usually two ways to operate. One is motivation, and the other is systems. Systems are consistent, and motivation is the most unreliable of human emotions. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you want to, yeah, Joy is saying, sometimes you have high motivation, sometimes you have low motivation. If you're working off of motivation and just saying, I'm going to kind of do whatever I feel like today, most days you do not feel like doing the thing you need to be successful. If you want to dive into that concept even deeper, Mel Robbins is a master of it. The fastest thing to do is go watch her TED Talk, but the 5-second rule is fantastic, and she just came out with a new book, The High Five Habit or something. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard it's good. But what Mel says is that basically, as adults, we don't have anybody forcing us to do the things we don't want to do. As a child, as an adolescent, you didn't want to do it either, but your parents made you most often. then you become an adult and you don't want to do it, and there's nobody there to make you do it. You have to make yourself do it, because if we only ever did the things we felt like doing, we'd watch a lot more, I don't know, Vampire Diaries or something, and we'd probably do a lot less laundry. So it's not about feeling like it, it's about creating a system, preparing a system so that you know, okay, here's the thing I need to do today. And my favorite quote from Mel Robbins is, you don't behave your way into acting, you act your way into feeling. Did I say that right? You don't feel your way into acting, you act your way into feeling. Yeah, that's it. You don't sit around and say, I'm going to do it when I feel like it. You say, I'm going to start doing it, and then I will feel, right? Our behavior influences our emotion, oftentimes not the other way around. I know that's true for me. When I'm not feeling it, I just alter the music that I'm listening to, and oftentimes I get into a different emotional state, or I just get up and start moving. Once I start moving, I get into a different emotional state. When I feel that, like, I just want to sit in the bonus room with all the lights off and a blanket over my head, I often will just decide, nope, I'm going to do one thing, and I do that one thing, and it kind of gets me going. Okay, so I don't have I'm going to run out of time. Sorry, Sharon, I'm going to run out of time. We may not get to all 5 of them, but that's prepare. The next one is discover. And discover is all about your connection with members of your team. One of the consistent behaviors of successful leaders is connection. The successful leaders spend the time, invest the time would be the proper word, because you don't spend time, you invest it. But they invest the time into creating connection with members of their team. They prepare to connect. And so it's all about getting to know members of your team, members of your organization, customers. And if you kind of run out of people to kind of get to know, it's expanding that out and saying, I've noticed this person on Facebook, maybe another Sensi consultant, and man, they seem to really do exceptional at that. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to connect with that person and get to know them and discover what makes them successful, right? So part of it, when we talked about preparation, it was being intentional. Part of your intention needs to be making consistent effort to get to know people in your organization. Now, there are a few questions here that you can go through members of your team and identify some of these core questions. When do they want to work on their business? Why did they join Sensi? And how can you support them? If you look through your team and you say, I know the answer to that question for most team members, or I've at least made an effort to find that out, then you say, okay, I continue to put in the effort. And as new people join, having a system in place to discover. So that's this little tip down here, is to connect with and really create, invest the time to create connection with new people as they start and as they're going through Sensational Start in particular. So when you look at, right, these all build on one another. When you look at prepare and you say, okay, I need to be intentional in my time, I would recommend that the first act of intention that you make as a leader is you carve out time to connect and discover and get to know people in your team. There are a few investments that you will make in your leadership that bring better results than spending and investing time in connecting with team. Now, if you're, Sharon, I probably should have asked you this before. If you're like a lead consultant or a star consultant, you're like, I got 3 people on my team. I don't know everybody's title, but if you have a small team, now you start expanding out to customers and just make efforts to not know, you don't have to be weird. You don't have to be like, hi, tell me your goals right? Some of these questions don't apply to customers, but just right, like investing some intentional time on whether it's social media or whatever, or just texting your customers and saying, gosh, hey, I know you recently purchased this product. Just wanted to connect and see what you think of it. Discover, or of course, follow up through the Amy app is a great way to do that. I know there's a cost to it, but people who really utilize it always find that they can more than recoup the cost of Amy. And so investing time to discover and getting to know people. If you look through your team and you have not yet made an effort to ask some of these questions, what are their goals? Where do they plan to focus their effort? Why did they join Sensi? One of the first things that you can do is start to invest a little bit of time every single week. Now, again, it's not about if you have 30 people on your team saying, I'm going to talk to all 30 this week. That's probably not feasible. But if you say, I'm going to make it a consistent habit to talk to 1 or 2 a week, eventually you start getting through it. So don't think that every one of these things you have to like perfectly complete them by the end of next week. It's just starting a consistent process. Okay, the next one is coach. And coaching is helping them identify the ways that they want to work to grow their business. And there's this cute little TIME acronym: teach, illustrate, mentor, and empower. And this reminds us that oftentimes as we work with people, particularly new consultants, there's a lot of teaching and illustrating. When you were brand new, either one of two things tends to happen. Either one, a mentor helps and shows you a few of the key elements of running a Sensi business, or you just ground your way through it and figured it out on your own. But right, because nobody really comes into the business with all of the skills necessary, right? Most people have not run direct sales businesses prior to joining Sensi. Most people don't know how to do a Facebook party. Most people don't know how to recruit or even have a joint conversation. Most people don't know how to consistently follow up with customers. That's not something they've ever done before. And so either somebody teaches or you fail and decide, oh my gosh, I got to do this differently. And so you start making adjustments and learn one way or another. So part of being an intentional leader is identifying within your organization, how can I show people how to do this? How can I, if you look at your team and think, I'd love my team to sponsor more. Okay, what would I teach and how would I illustrate to them this process of sponsoring? This mentor one is kind of fun. Have them perform the task where you sit beside them and provide some direction. Like you could even do some fun, like, hey, we're going to practice a joint conversation. And you could practice it over text. Like, pretend I just booked pretend I just hosted a party for you. How would that conversation go if you were going to talk to me about the host exclusive kit, for example, and let them try it out, let them practice. So the first time they're doing something, it's not live and in front of somebody. So there's some powerful lessons here in helping people develop the skills necessary to be successful. So, and again, you can get this document because there's a lot of content here. And then the replicate just means do it over and over and over again. But connect, and you will think, isn't discover the same as connect? Like, didn't I connect with people in discover? And aren't I connecting with them when I coach? In connect, we want to focus in on a couple of things. In a great book called Tribes by Seth Godin, he talks about the power of connection and the number of connections. If you've got a new team member and you are the only one within the Sensi world that they're really connected to, one of the ways to consistently act with intention towards your business is to help and facilitate the connection of them with more different people, other leaders, other members of the team, other resources at Sensi. I hope you never feel like threatened or oftentimes it's kind of our own feelings of inferiority that we're nervous about new people connecting with others, because then they're like, oh, she's a better leader than me, and if my people connect with her and they like her better, then that's bad for me. Well, it's not really bad for you. it's actually really good for you if you can connect them with other leaders and they get help from other people. And then you think, oh yeah, but they might leave my team and want to go join her team. We almost never let people do that, so you don't have to worry about it. That doesn't happen. They can't just like email in and be like, I want to be on Sharon's team now. And we'll say, that is so nice that Sharon's so helpful. I think we're going to keep you where you, right? I mean, we just don't move people in the Scentsy world. It almost never, ever happens. So you don't need to feel that sense of inferiority or comparison to other leaders and think, oh my gosh, I can't, or I'm nervous about allowing my people to connect with them. No, you actually want to foster that. You want to foster them connecting with each other. You guys are great at this oftentimes through things like your Facebook group and things. But if you look at your Facebook group or your Facebook page and think, man, there's not as much interaction here. I don't know that there's as much connection here as I'd like there to be. Figuring out some other ways that you can help connect new team members with each other, connect them with resources and tools, connect them to things that we're doing at the home office. One of my favorite keynotes from Orville was in Anaheim, where he talked about that the efforts of home office are specifically intended to reduce the amount of work that you guys have to do to have consistent success. So, and he, for example, talked about Sell with Amy. And that's an effort and an expense that the home office has put in to try to reduce the amount of effort that you have to put into follow-up. Things like incentive trips. We're going to announce a new incentive trip at World Tour. So if you attend World Tour, you'll hear about our next incentive. But we're wrapping up an incentive right now, 10, 11 more days, right? But when there's an incentive, connecting your people with the incentive reduces the amount of effort you have to do to really motivate and inspire them, because they're motivated and inspired by the incentive. Scentsy Club is another way. I love what Sharon said at the beginning there, where she said, I really love these fragrances. I'm probably going to put them in my club. And Scentsy Club continues to increase in the percentage of business at Scentsy, because more and more people, I think we have close to 350,000 Scentsy Club subscriptions or something like that. I can't remember. I just read the number today as part of our World Tour preparation, but and a significant majority of them have Always Get My Bar, right? And so we do those things so that if you had 4, 5, 6, maybe even 10 people signed up for Scentsy Club, man, if you went into every single month and you already had 200 PRV kind of locked in from Scentsy Club members, and now you're thinking, man, to get to my 500 PRV, right? I know I got every month I got 200 PRV coming from Scentsy Club. I know I can get 100 PRV from Simple Follow-Up. That's 3 of my 500 PRV right there. I do one party a month, and 500 PRV is not a worry anymore, right? So that's really to reduce the amount of effort that you have to put in. And so that's what, right? If you're like, oh man, I got to train my team. I don't know how to train my team. Then don't worry about it. Point them to the resources that Scentsy has to provide training, things like the Tuesday training call, things like the weekly learning plan, right? We do that to try to reduce the amount of work that you have to do. So connecting team members to the things that we're doing reduces the amount of work that you have to do. Connecting them with other people takes some of the pressure off of you to be like the only one they ever text, the only one who ever congratulates them, the only one that they feel is a part of their Scentsy journey. If they have 15 people who are part of their Scentsy journey, it's so much better, and they're much more likely to stay with Scentsy long-term, by the way. So help connect them, and there's some great resources here. And then finally, it's replicate. And this is the key, is you just start developing these systems, because if you want consistent outcomes, we start creating the systems that get results, and you do that consistently, and then you have consistent outcomes. If you look at your business right now, you already have some consistent outcomes in place, right? You may have the system in place to get 200 PRV like every month. You may have the system in place to get 500 PRV every month. You may have the system in place to get 2,000. Some people do. It's like 2,000 PRV to them is just like, I just do it, right? Because they've created the system to do it. Some people have a system in place to sponsor 1 or 2 people a month. They just do it. For those of us who don't, we think, oh my gosh, I could never sponsor 1 person a month. You can. It's the consistency of behavior that gets you there. I could never, right, get to director. I could never get to star director. Yes, you absolutely can. It's building the consistency of systems, because it's really systems that create consistency, right? And Sensi's a pretty good example of that, right? You guys know we have a system in place of when the new catalog is going to come out. We have a system in place for when World Tour is going to be, when Reunion's going to be. We sprinkle some fun little things in there every once in a while to create a little bit of unexpected excitement. But for the most part, man, we just keep churning on a consistent system. And best of all, you know that somewhere between the 8th and 10th of every single month, we're going to pay out commissions. It's a consistent system that you can count on, that you know is reliable. The same thing for you in your business. As your business grows, these two things are linked together. Your business will grow as you create systems, and as you create systems, your business will grow. Since he used to handwrite checks and mail them out for commissions, that's not a sustainable system when you have 300,000 consultants. So now we have a different system in place. Since he used to hand pour bars, it's not a consistent system when you're pouring hundreds of thousands and millions of bars a year. Now we have like 6 different machines that can pump them out like crazy. The business grew, the systems improved. And so as your business grows and systems improve, and as systems improve, your business grows. So really the key is to look at an area of your business that you want to improve in: promotions, sponsoring, consistent selling, team advancement. If you're looking and saying the next real thing for me is for other people in my organization to promote and succeed. Okay, so what's your system for prepare? What's your system for discover? What's your system for oh no, I forgot. Coach and connect, right? If you look tonight and say, do I have a system for prepare, discover, coach, and connect? And you say, no, I don't. Okay, just start. Do one thing with each one. That's the beginning of your system. The beginning of your system for prepare might just be to sit down every Sunday night and write down the one thing you're going to do each day that week. And you just say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Here's the one thing I'm going to do each day that week. Your first system for discover might be every Tuesday, I'm going to call one team member. Your first system for coach might be every Wednesday, I'm going to reach out to somebody and start working with them on trying to help them identify areas where they can improve. And maybe your first system for connect is to utilize the weekly learning plan. We post it every Monday on the director, star director, and superstar director page, and every Tuesday on the all consultant page. And so maybe you just start connecting with that and connecting your team with that. And then you say, my next system is every time they come out with an incentive, I'm going to work personally on it, and I'm going to try to help my teams work on it, right? So it's only one thing. Just start a system. We used to hand pour bars, right? That wasn't going to be the long-term solution, but it was the start. And so right now you might be in hand pour bar position in your business, and eventually you'll be in 6 mega machines that can pump out hundreds of thousands of bars. So, but start now. Start with a system and a process for each of these areas of leadership. And over time and with consistency, you'll see significant improvements and changes. Because here's the thing, if you do anything 365 times, it's going to have an impact. It doesn't matter what it is. If you do anything once a day for a year from now, you'll be better off. I love the story. I'll just finish with this story. There's kind of it's a fictional story, but there are 2 twin brothers. And one of them decided on the first day of the year that every day he was going to eat a Twinkie. The other one decided that every day he was going to run a mile. Well, after a week, no major change between the 2 twins. After a month, no significant difference between the 2 twins. But a year, 5 years, 10 years down the road, you start to see a significant difference between the twin who decides I'm going to eat a Twinkie every day and the twin who says I'm going to run a mile every day. So don't base your belief of results on a week from now or a day from now or a month from now. Base your belief of results on 6 months or a year from now. Right now, put your trust, put your belief, put your hope into a process, perfect the process, and you'll see the results 6 months and 12 months from now. So, and I encourage all of you, I printed it off. There it is. The team building training guide. If you just search for 5 fundamentals in the Sensi success section of the workstation, you can find it and start reading through this on your own. And I guarantee you'll come up with an idea in each of those areas of a way to do better. So again, I don't think anybody at Sensi gets more words into 30 minutes than I do.
Well, you did pretty fantastic. That was pretty fantastic. And I thought I was doing you a favor by saying 30 minutes. I didn't realize it was going to make it so that what's normally much longer presentation had to be smashed together. So I apologize for that. I thought I was going to go differently, and so I apologize for that. So
well, hopefully it was meeting your expectations.
Well, what was pretty great, and I'm sure the other consultants that are on will have an opportunity to pop in and ask questions. And I think for anyone who wasn't here in the very beginning, Jason said, when you're ready, just to unmute yourself and ask questions. But what I think I loved a lot about what you just did is you pointed us towards the resource over and over and over again. You told us where to find that. You told us to go print it off ourselves and go read it. That was pretty exciting. I'm like, wait, there's a manual that I could just go print it off and read it? Man, heaven's angels just shone down upon me. So I appreciate that. So folks are saying thank you in the chat, but I'm gonna just be quiet for just a few seconds, maybe even a minute, and see if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask any questions while we have this amazing brain here with us.
And I'll just say thank you back. Like, we know at home office how much you guys do. We are at least aware of the difficulty and the challenge, the good days and the bad days, and they're not all good days, and that there's hard days and difficult days, and yet you keep pushing through and keep inspiring us, and so we're so grateful. And when you have that difficult day, I hope you feel at least that you're connected with each other here, and that there's that community of connection and support at home office, that we love and appreciate you and all that you do, and are so grateful for your contribution.
Well, Jason, thank you so much. I know that we have everyone here from Superstar Director down to Essential Consultant. And we have people here who are everywhere from level 3 down to on the cusp to earning level 1 and on the cusp of earning, various levels on the incentive. So we're super excited to spend this time with you. Folks are working hard, and I think they're doing a great job. I think I see Miss Annie Mitchell and Sophia. So I don't know if you guys wanted to ask a question or if you just happened to pop up.
I actually do. I've taken the last year-ish to really focus on my PRV, and I'm kind of stuck on where to go next. I've tried to grow my team, and I feel like I've grown my team, just maybe not consistently enough, or they don't want to work it, and that's okay. My daughter and I do it for fun, and we do it for extra money. But I guess my question is, where do I go next, or what is your suggestion?
To be perfectly honest, like, I always feel so I share that sense of inadequacy, because I'm like, Amy, you want to take that one? Or Carrie or Sharon? I'm like, we should probably talk to the people who've done it. I mean, so I'll say this, the questions that pop into my head from a coaching standpoint of like just coaching, I would say, okay, you mentioned the word consistency. I would say, if you say, I've been focusing on my sales and I've been doing well, with selling, I would say there's probably some consistent stuff you're doing with selling. And then I would ask, what are the consistent things you're doing with sponsoring? One suggestion I would make, and then I'm happy to turn the time over to those who are who have actually done this, is to create a bit of a rule for yourself. Something that says, like, every time somebody hosts a party, I will do the following related to sponsoring. Anytime anybody orders more than 30 PRV, I will say something like, and this is where you can practice with other people and come up with a wording you're comfortable with, but something like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for your order. That's fantastic. I love having you as a customer. And clearly you love Scentsy. Have you ever thought of just being a Scentsy consultant yourself? And if you do something like that, but we almost have to give ourselves a rule, because otherwise we will give ourselves an excuse why I don't have to have that conversation with somebody. But if you set a rule and you say every time, or every time, every time a customer has ordered from me the second time or the third time, I'm always going to say, it's clear you love Scentsy and I love being your consultant. The only thing I'd love more is if you joined my team and we could work on this together. Have you ever thought of starting a business? So I would, that would be my question, is what are you doing to consistently sponsor? And when you say I'm not sponsoring consistently, it's usually because the sponsoring behavior isn't consistent. So anyway, Amy, Carrie, Sharon, save me, rescue me. Make sure I didn't just say something totally where you're like, this guy don't know what he's talking about.
So Amy's Annie's sponsor. So I don't know that it's fair to put Amy under the bus for that. But Carrie, I don't know if you want to say anything. Feel free to.
I loved that. I am all about rules, and I kind of feel like I'm going to implement that. So thanks, Jason. I know that I'm a little further along in my Scentsy career, but I totally love that. I even wrote it down, like set a rule about when to add sponsoring conversations, because sometimes we get really comfortable in our businesses and we get comfortable in the fact that, we're rocking the PRV consistently, and you kind of forget to offer the opportunity, or you target a specific person. So I may, in my mind, think, oh, Jason's going to make a great consultant, and I'm, laser focus on Jason, when over here, Amy's placing an order every other month for $100, and I'm not even thinking about her. And a lot of times I see this sometimes where consultants will actually block themselves because they don't want, Amy to join, because she's $100 in PRV every other month. And so, like having the rule about, hey, every time somebody places a $30 order, or every third order that this, a customer makes from you, or, every time somebody says the phrase, I just love Scentsy, offer the opportunity. Like my mind's kind of blown right now, and I'm totally implementing that into my systems. So now I have a new system. Thanks, Jason.
So the only thing that I would add on to that is to make sure that you're doing things that are consistently expanding your customer base too. So that's like literally the only thing that I would add to that. We have a pretty great system actually in the group with the choices. Choice 1, choice 2 for hosts. It's in the group, so we can go check it out. I'll send it to Amy, make sure we got it checked out. But that's the only other thing that I would suggest, because I'm blessed to be in a unique position right now where I recruited a lot in the fall. And now a lot of my current customers, their best friends are consultant now. So I just realized just at the beginning of this month, I was like, holy cow, I got to expand my customer base, because now, like, I got a text back. I'm following up with people. Hey, how are things going? How about you book a last chance first glance party? And they're like, oh, that's great, but my best friend just joined. And I'm like, oh, that's right. So that's the only thing I would tack on to any of this advice. Amy Mitchell's a rock star.
She is a rock star, and she doesn't give herself enough credit. And so, these are not conversations that she and I haven't had, but they've been a different, like a roundabout way to this question. So today she asked it very direct. I wrote it down. So now I'm accountable for it, and she'll be accountable for it. But I would say, going back to what Jason said with the system of, first of all, no. Sharon, you've got to constantly be expanding. You have to constantly be adding new people to your customer pool, because adding new people to your customer pool, the more customers you add, the more recruits you're going to find. That's just how it works. You can't keep tapping from the same well over and over again. Eventually it will go dry. But I was going to say, based on where Jason was saying with the system, what is your system? Like he was saying, is it going to be every third purchase? Is it going to be every $30 sale? Is it going to be every... It doesn't even have to be that specific for some of you that might be stuck in your sponsoring journey right now. It can be just something as easy as a sentence, what we like to call a seed, right? We plant a seed and we wait for it to grow. And sometimes it grows overnight and sometimes it might take years. In Annie's case, it took years for that seed to grow with her. And it was just me taking my testers into the bank all of the time and saying, I need to do some shopping. It's hot outside. Can I leave these with you so they don't melt while I'm shopping? Because the bank was in the grocery store, right? And then I made sure that when I was going to do my deposits for my events, that I always waited for her to take care of me, and I slid that stack of money across to her. So it was like one of those kind of symbiotic relationships. But maybe for those of you that might be stuck in that, how do I do, or what do I do, or should I wait for it to be the third sale, or should I wait for it to be a certain dollar amount? Try not to overthink it and just make it a sentence. Every time you're taking an order from someone, tell them up front, I'm going to ask you this question every time I take this order, and you can answer it the same way every time, or you can answer it differently. Have you ever thought about doing my job? Ever? Just once. Have you ever remotely thought about it? Even if you're like, yeah, no, it's not for me. Have you ever thought about doing my job? That is such a big seed to plant. And it's not a yes, no, leave it alone answer. Sometimes it has great weight to it, and it can open up conversations. And somebody might say, I did. When my husband lost his job last year, I thought about it for a brief moment, but then I was lucky enough for him to get a job. Do you know that this is like a really great way to have something on the side, even if everybody's employed in your house? It's an icebreaker. So I would say maybe find a sentence that you're comfortable with, that every time you're taking an order or every time you're delivering an order, that you bring that in.
That's awesome. You guys are rock stars. Amy's my mentor, you guys. I follow her around all the time. I hold her purse at events. It's great. So, all right. So Amy Mitchell, super brave and asked a question. Would anybody else like to ask a question before we let poor Jason go have dinner? Because he's clearly at home and he's looking hungry. Carrie's retelling her journey story. What she doesn't know is I bounced in her lap and gave her a kiss when she finally said yes. She swears I licked her cheek, but I really didn't. That would have been weird and gross.
It was not a kiss. It was total, like, she licked my cheek. I swear
Whatever.
to God. Hand to God on that one. She licked my cheek. This was pre-COVID.
This was very far
okay
before COVID. Very, very, very far before COVID.
She ran across the lawn for me. Like,
I did run across the lawn for
for
you.
Ran across the lawn after me.
She's a really, listen, if a woman is willing to knock on your door to organize a community yard sale, you need her on your team, right? Like, I did well there. I did very well. And I'm going to pat myself on the back.
I need
for
to up
that.
my sponsoring game.
Yeah.
You start licking cheeks and chasing people.
No, well, chasing people, you got to be careful with both. I don't recommend them now.
I don't know if she'll talk on here at all, but I need to look and see if she's still on here.
Tori?
Is she still here?
Yeah, she's still here.
Yeah. So Tori may not talk. You'll probably never see Tori's face, any of you, unless you like are in person and you see her at an event. But Tori is another one of those sponsoring. She'll come up in chat here in a moment. She'll be like, don't tell my secrets. She's another sponsoring one of, it doesn't necessarily have to be a customer. It can be somebody working a booth next to you at a county fair wearing 4-inch heels, poking them through. Jason, you remember those expensive styrofoam floors that we had a few years back in the day? This girl worked next to me in the photography booth, and she spent the whole week popping 4-inch heel holes in my brand new floor all week. So I had to sponsor her to pay for the floor.
Oh.
And there it was.
And she's been with me now almost a decade.
Yeah.